You're on.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim Perry. I live in Sturgeon Bay now. I came to Door County in 1977 and had a flooring business and sold it in 2017. I was so close to Jacksonport at the time that I started coming down here right away and skiing before the trails were skiing and hiking along the ledge and the escarpment, so to speak, and started taking pictures. And after I sold my business, I bought a camera, and now I'm here. So this is part of the Brachiopod path trail, and this area right here is actually comes from Logan Creek, and it feeds into Clark Lake, and Clark Lake also feeds into this marsh area. So it keeps the water really clean. The water from Logan Creek is very clean, and there's a lot of breeding up there too, with sandhill cranes and egrets. There are more up there than here. I haven't seen many sandhills down here, other than fly above us. Eagles and vultures and other birds of prey also fly the skies, and there's a whole plethora of plants, dragonflies right now. Ducks and geese are in here in the late winter, early spring, and they're creating their families for the future. The ducks are usually mated past that birdhouse there, and there's a little pond back in there, sort of. Red-winged blackbirds, that's what you hear right now. That's the male, the twill. And there's quite a few of those. There's more of those than anything that I've seen down here. The females are not as colorful. They're totally camouflaged. They're just brown speckles, and the only way I can tell them is they have sort of a brown streak where the males have the red streak, and the males were always got the trill. There's a couple of nests down here for the blackbirds, and it's nice to see they're in the thicket, and they just feed their young. So there aren't any really big fish in here. It would be by mistake anyway, but every once in a while you hear a big splash. Somebody told me they've seen an otter. There's a female blackbird, but now it's in the marsh because they keep hidden. So there's a season to all of the different birds and animals that come in. There's a big turtle in here someplace, and they're garter snakes. They're back in here quite a bit. I don't see them back in here, but where it's more, you can walk a little bit. And there we go. That's a female red-winged blackbird. It's totally camouflaged. You can see on the top of the head, it's got that little streak that the red-winged blackbird has a red streak up there. And the tail is wedged like that.
You want to talk about the wood duck back there? A little bit about the wood ducks?
Yeah, and one morning I was here photographing ducks that were, the grass wasn't as tall too. You have to bear in mind that it was basically no grass. And the ducks were mating in the back area behind that birdhouse, and I was photographing some mallards because there's a little channel back there, and you can see them crossing. And this wood duck just flew right into the shot. So I think there are 2 or 3 wood ducks down here. They're very colorful. They're very easy to determine because they have all kinds of ornate colors on them in curves and feathers. And the female wood duck is a lot more bland. Just all of the birds are like that. The mallards you see with all their colors, and they really stand out. And there was a pair of mallards in here, and you could see the male just like the bright of day, and the female was so camouflaged. I have a camera that has a 600 millimeter zoom lens, and that's probably the only way I could find it. So they nested back there. If you want to come down here, early in the morning is really a good time because that's the rhythm that the animal kingdom has pretty much. Night flyers like the owl, they'll be out at night, but most of the other animals are up at the crack of dawn, and they're moving around, and they'll have a few hours of activity, and then they kind of rest. There's a lot of horsetail in here, although the grass has kind of overgrown it now. Horsetails are succulent, and the geese really like it. I learned a couple of things about the geese, that if you come in and...
Yeah, feel free.
Are there benches here or no?
No. And so the geese like to honk. So if you come in and they're in the marsh and you're up here, they'll honk for a little while. And one thing I learned is that they'll be out there sitting, and the male will be honking at who's ever out here. But then when the female starts to honk, then they both start to honk. And I discovered that that's how they tell each other they're going to fly away. Because a couple of times I took off after they made that exchange, and then I heard them flying away. So I stayed one time, and it was right over here actually, and they just were going back and forth, and they turned around and just flew out. So it was really cool. You got a huge dragonfly in back of you right here, right on the boards. It's like a club tail, that's what it's called.
A club tail?
Nice colors to it, yeah. They love the sun. Now see, what we were talking about is there's no eyes in the back of their head, so it's not as startled as it might be if it was facing us. So, I don't know, just kind of lining up with the sun or something like that. Be a dragonfly, get a suntan. Soak in the sun. So that's another one, a little young one. So there's a lot of them now.
Tell us about the life cycle of the dragonfly a little bit.
Yeah.
Larva, metamorphosis.
Yeah, they're well, the males and the females mate by hooking up to each other and flying around pretty much. And they're all eggs are deposited in the water, and then they emerge. They're really quick to emerge and start flying because they're so vulnerable otherwise. And some of them get quite large, and there's different varieties that are large too. And there's a lot of places around here that are similar to this that have dragonflies too.
Like the Heinz emerald.
Yeah, the Heinz emerald is here too, and Three Springs, and I think down at Clay Banks too. I
That
go
far
there
down.
a bit, and that's another nice place for butterflies and dragonflies, because there's a lot of milkweed and goldenrod and stuff like that down there. So what I was going to say before is if there's people going to come down, you want to be as quiet as possible, as early as possible, and as quiet as possible, and basically not talk very much, and just be still. If you're out here first and you're still, you can be seen as part of the environment. When you start moving around, the animal or the fly or whatever it is, they just move because of the motion. They don't really know who we are. Although the ducks might know the duck hunters. I think that's why they fly so quickly. The ducks are really sharp. And they're smaller than the geese, so they're way deep in the marsh, and they see movement and then they fly that way. That's their name of the game. I haven't seen many flowers in the marsh yet, except those irises back over there. There'll probably be some more at some point.
So, sedge grasses,
Yeah.
irises, cattails. I don't see a lot of lily pads here.
No, I don't think there's enough space. There's a darner right there, that blue streak. Did you see that land on that leaf? That's a darner. They're very, very thin. Their head is way bigger than their body in terms of diameter.
What a special place, Jim.
Oh, this is fantastic. I mean, I spend a couple of hours down here in the morning.
Almost every morning, too, right?
Well, not so much now because it's different in the morning. The geese are settled, and so the geese come over a little later. And it all depends if I come down here for sunrise, which I like to do. I like to do that and then go to sunrise, and then by the time you get back here, something's going on. And then I go down to the creek.
Okay, thank you.